Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the penultimate round of the first season of the Intelligence Racing League. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Car Mentalist. I'll be taking you through proceedings today. Joined alongside me today will be a fellow commentator of mine. Obviously, you've heard of him before, and he's commentated quite a few times over this league. Say hello, everyone, to Ivor Bryn Mike. Ivor, how you doing?
I am doing great, mate. Looking forward to what should be a very interesting race here in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully imagine it's going to be. As you can see on the stream title, it is round 21 on the stream title. Obviously, we have to repeat round 16 next week after a few issues when we try to do the Russian Grand Prix. So that will end up being the final round of the season, and that will be next week. So this is officially the penultimate round as it stands. Just before Ivor and I run you through the standings, I'm just going to run you through a couple of bit of interesting news about the league, actually. So obviously in the 2 weeks that we've had off, we had the 24 hours of F1 last weekend. I know a number of people who are racing today raced in that, including myself. And we raised over £1,000 for NHS charities, which is amazing. So that's why we weren't racing last week, and that was a brilliant event. So thank you to everyone that joined and took part and donated. That was an amazing event. Two other things for Intelligence Racing League: we have rebranded in that time. So if you head over to our Twitter page, which is at IntelligenceINL, you'll be able to see our new rebrand. It's very exciting stuff for us. Obviously, we're only in our first season, and we've already rebranded, and we're already looking far more professional. So that's brilliant. We also now have our first sponsor. So our first sponsor is Rogue Energy, and if you head over to their website, which you will also be able to find on our Twitter page, and if you plan on making any sort of purchase, there is a code section. If you type in the code INL, you will get 10% off any purchase on that website, and that's our new sponsor. So yeah, that's just the news. That just running you through the news before qualifying gets started. Just talking about the championship standings, though. Coming into this event, there's only 2 people in with a shot at the championship standings anymore. It was two rounds ago. It was Callum that was the closest challenger to McCrew. It is now LR Ghost. So Ghost won last time out ahead of the 2 racing points of Sparhout and Kuhn. Unfortunately, I don't think Kuhn is racing today. But yeah, those were the top 3 finishers last time out, and that's put Ghost within 49 points of the championship lead, and it's just those 2 that are racing for the standings now. So what do you see happening in terms of the standings today, Ivor?
Well, I mean, it is McCrew's to lose, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, it seems unlikely that Ghost is going to be able to close that gap down, and all McCrew needs to do is score a couple of points here, and he's guaranteed the championship.
Absolutely, yeah. So coming into this round, McCrew has a 49-point lead. Going into the next event, he needs a 26-point lead to round out the standings, obviously taking into account a win and a fastest lap. So I believe, well, obviously at this point, yeah, Ghost, has to win this race, and McCrew can't finish in the points, really. I think the lowest McCrew can finish if Ghost wins the race and McCrew is to take the championship at this event. I believe the lowest he can finish is 9th. That's barring no one getting any sort of fastest lap point. So it is pretty much McCrew's to lose. But we said that at Mexico and the last race, last time out at Brazil didn't go McCrew's way, and Ghost ended up winning the race. So you never know. Anything can happen at this point.
Especially around a circuit such as this, because that turn 3 can be quite deadly if you get it a little bit wrong. And
Absolutely.
Especially on controller, it's a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I think Abu Dhabi, as many of you probably know, is pretty much a dead-on 2-stop race, so strategies can be quite mixed around here, which obviously can throw up a little bit more of an interesting qualifying session. As I say that, I was just on board with Callum, as he's the first person to start a lap, and he almost completely lost the rear end through turn 3, just showing off how difficult turn 3 can be to get right. It doesn't look that much of a corner, and you don't really think about it, but going through that corner, it can catch a number of people out. We're going to stay on board with Callum for the first lap, just so we can see what times he's setting and see if anyone behind him can beat him.
There's also another championship that could be decided here today, and that is in the Constructors.
Absolutely, yes. So the Constructors' Championship going into the next round, they need a 44-point lead going into the next round to win the championship. Obviously, that's barring whoever's second in the championship getting a 1-2 and a fastest lap. That's 44 points. So I believe it's Red Bull that's leading the standings, if I'm not right. The gap is 47 at this point. Yeah, exactly. So it's already over that mark at this point. We'll just have to wait and see what happens really between those two manufacturers. At this point, I do believe it is Red Bull leading the standings. Yeah, it's Red Bull leading from Mercedes. Toro Rosso are in still with a shout if they have a good race today, but it's most likely between those two at this point.
Oh, there's a nice little battle for fourth in the constructors, which I'm quite interested in, between Racing Point, Williams, Ferrari, and Haas.
Yeah, absolutely. From 4th all the way down to 7th in the standings, I believe it's 22 points, which is really, really close. So anything can happen in this race and the next that can lead to a completely different outcome in the manufacturers. Just looking at qualifying times then, Callum's come through on a 35.1, immediately beaten by Toxic, who's racing today. So he comes in with a 33.9, so he's immediately at the front of the field. Donetsky goes 3rd, beaten by Ghost, who does a 34.3, which is about 4 tenths off Toxic. So those are the first people through, and Daniel's the first person to do a lap on the medium. So I don't imagine we're going to see many people go for a fast lap on the mediums today. We've only got Daniel, J-Luke, and Max, I believe, are the only ones that are actually doing something different in terms of tyre strategies so far. So we're probably going to see everyone doing laps on the softs. But yeah, based on what we know already, what do you think the outcome on qualifying is going to be? Or who do you think is going to be at the front of the field?
Well, right now it looks like there's a bit of Williams teamwork going on, as Toxic appears to be giving J-Luke the slipstream down the back straight with DRS.
Yeah.
And he did set a purple sector 1, so this could be a decent time if he gained a significant amount of time in sector 2 with that slipstream.
Absolutely, and he's on the mediums as well, so he's not going to quite be at the front of the field, but he might be quite clear of his fellow medium runner, which is Daniel at the moment, who's still in 10th. So still in the top 10 at the moment, but I imagine he's going to fall out of the top 10 pretty quickly once the likes of Hypes and Matty and J-Luke and McCrew have all set their times. But yeah, just watching J-Luke through the last section, this is definitely the most technical part of the track. It's a 90 left followed by another 90 left and a 90 right. But it can be quite difficult to get right. Obviously, each corner has its own challenges, and traction in the last sector is especially difficult, so people running off traction might struggle a little bit in the last sector. J-Luke round the last corner then, doesn't use a lot of curve on the inside, comes across the line, and it's a 30.9, so he goes in just behind Daniel. Actually, less than 0.02 of a second he goes in behind Daniel, so the two medium runners at the moment running pretty similar lap times.
It's very close between Daniel and J-Luke.
Obviously, yeah, I think we just had an alpha spin. Sorry to cut in there. I think we just had an alpha spin at the last corner. I think that might be Philippe that's maybe spun. I'm not quite sure who that was.
Yeah, it was Philippe. He's just coming into the pits now.
Yeah. Just on board with Hypes as well as he comes up to the last corner. He's coming to set his first lap on the softs. He's usually there or thereabouts. Let's see where he puts himself. He jumps up to P4, so he goes in between the two racing points into P4 in the McLaren.
What I was going to say, it was the contrasting strategies that we could see outside the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's because we know one stop is definitely possible here, the medium to the hards, and that could throw a spanner in the works for some people, but the two stop is generally the quicker strategy.
Absolutely, yeah, and anyone starting on the softs is pretty much going to have to go into the two stop strategy. The softs don't last very long around this track, and the hards wouldn't be able to make the rest of the race distance. But if you're starting outside the top 10 and you think your pace is good enough, then a one stop is possible for medium to hard, but obviously depends on what your pace is. Just going to go with Matty then. He's going to start his first flying lap. Let's see what he can do in the Haas. So coming into turn 1, this is a 90 left. Not the most difficult corner in the world as he comes through. Doesn't take a lot of curb on the inside, but runs nice and wide on the exit to get the best line through turn 2 and then into tricky turn 3. Doesn't use a lot of curb. Nice and neat though on the exit. Doesn't scrub off a lot of speed. And through the first sector, looks like he's had a purple in the first sector on a 16.9, so he's had a good first sector. Just comes into the hairpin before the first back straight. Keeps it nice and tight to the apex. Shorts just up to second. Midway through the corner to nullify the traction that he's going to get on the exit. Down the long back straight then. Let's see what his kind of top speed is. So it comes down into the chicane, moves over to the middle of the track, because obviously the track narrows as you come to the end of the straight. Into the chicane, is laid on the brakes, but manages to get it stopped. Brilliant stuff there from Matty. Uses the curb on the inside. You can use that, depends if you absolutely nail it. You can ride over the top of that curb. It can gain you a lot of time, but it is a very fine line between getting it right and getting it wrong. Up to the end of the second sector. So he's on a purple again, so he's on a good lap. as he comes
This
into...
would be a good contender for Toxic's time at the moment.
At the moment, yeah, it looks like definitely the closest person to Toxic. So he comes through the last sector there and into two corners that aren't really corners. You kind of just drift through them and then into the braking zone for the next. Another 90 right. Quite a narrow, tight apex into the next 90 left, and then another 90 left. There's a yellow flag in front, so I don't know if someone spun off up the road. Yeah, there's a car on the inside waiting. That's Daniel. Good stuff, and Daniel keeping out the way. Matty doesn't use a lot of apex curb in the penultimate corner. He uses a bit more in the last corner, but he comes up to the line. And this is a 34.2, so it puts him second on the grid. He lost all his time in the end to Toxic in the last sector, so that seems to be where Toxic has the upper hand at the moment, but Matty looking pretty fast in the first two sectors.
Yeah, and you mentioned that curb in the chicane at the end of the first DRS straight, and that's also going to be another tricky corner for these guys to negotiate, because it can just chew you up and spit you out.
Absolutely, yeah, and there's obviously a lot of undulation on the exit of the corner, so traction can be especially difficult coming out of that chicane if you get it wrong, if you're too eager on the power. So, yeah, that's definitely going to catch a few people out. Yeah, McCrew jumps up to third then, so he puts his first time in. Oh, he's just left the session, actually. I've just seen that. So hopefully he's got another invite to come back. He's third on the grid at the moment. Fingers crossed that he's able to join back quickly. And able to complete
last time
qualifying.
out, it was Matty whose connection down. Is it going to be McCrew here today? Is Ghost going to get the...
Ghost going to get all the... Ghost going to get the luck and maybe take this championship fight on to the next round in Russia. Just on board with Callum then. He's coming to the end of the first sector. He's 2/10 up on his time. At the moment, that's not going to gain him any places, but he has got Jerome in front of him on the track. Jerome hasn't moved out of the way yet, so he's going to have to try and do so. Have to move out pretty quickly, and he has, which is fair enough from him. So Callum not really affected by that too badly. So he comes into the final part of the lap then. Stays in third gear through that corner. We saw on board with Matty that he went into second. Takes a very shallow line for that left-hander. To the next left-hander before the final two corners then. It can be very easy to invalidate at the penultimate corner. Nice, neat and tidy from Callum into the last corner then. Let's see where this lap puts him. Has he improved any more in the last sector? So he comes up to the line and he goes P8 in the end. So he did improve by a bit, but he only ended up gaining one place on Janetsky at that point. Daniel, meanwhile, has set his first soft time and he's up to P7.
Ooh, I say just went on board with Jerome as he just whacks into the wall on the pit entry.
By me.
Speaking of the pits, now it's going to be... This track is very unique on its pit exit, which is... It can be a place where you could just get slightly wrong, chip off a bit of your front wing as soon as you leave the pits.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's the same. It can be the same coming in as well. If you take too much speed coming into the pit lane, if you're lucky enough, you'll be able to miss the pit exit line and continue on to another lap. But it's a very narrow pit entry, so there is a risk of people damaging their front wings on the way in and on the way out of the pit lane, like you say. So definitely very unique.
Oh yeah, in the final corner.
So he improves by 7/10. Wow. So he does a 34 exactly. That's bizarre. I've never quite seen that before. But he does a 34 exactly. He ends up half a tenth in the end off of the back of Toxic. And Ghost is 7/1000ths of a second slower than Sparholt. So it's really closing up at the front of the field now. Just looking through the rest of the field then. We haven't had UK Coxey. He hasn't set a lap time yet. Neither has Max. Max is on his out lap at the moment. So we're still waiting for representative times from them. I believe J Luke's coming around the last corner and he does a 35.1, so that's his first lap on the softs. He's in 11th at the moment, about 10th off the top 10, but starting P11 at this track can actually be a real benefit.
Yeah, I mean, the guys on the softs, the real problem is that these tyres fall off a cliff very quickly after a while.
Absolutely, yeah.
Big, what is it, 5 laps? And then that's it, they're done.
Pretty much, yeah. It's kind of a very similar situation to what you get in Canada, really, is this track in terms of tyre wear. The softs are pretty good for the first 3, maybe 4 laps if you're able to control your tyre temperatures, but from then on, the softs lose all of their pace and the mediums become the far better tyre. So we're going to have to see how long the people can stretch those softs at the start without losing too much time, and see how much stronger the mediums end up being midway through the race. Just on board with Patrick as he crosses the line. He goes P10. That's on his second lap on the softs though, so he's going to want to come in and set another lap on a fresh set of softs, so he's got a little bit more life in those tyres when he starts the race, if he starts the race inside the top 10.
Now we got the calm before the storm at the end of qualifying, and right now Toxic is looking pretty decent to take this pole position with the one lap he's done.
Yeah,
Still holding provisional pole.
Yeah, he's looking pretty confident at the moment. He's set his lap time pretty early on in the session and hasn't come out of the pit box since. So he's deciding to save a set of soft tyres by the looks of things, maybe in case of a safety car. Yeah, he's not come out and tried to improve that just yet. He's obviously going to wait until the track conditions are at their best at the end of the session. But yeah, he's still looking pretty comfortable. We'll see if he can improve. Meanwhile, Hype's improved, but he stayed P6 in the end. He only improved by less than a tenth of a second. So there's a little bit of a gap between the top 5 and P6 at the moment of about 4/10 of a second. So there's going to be, maybe a few drivers might end up falling into that gap once they start improving on their times. Yeah, and like you say, it is now the calm before the storm, really, isn't it? Not really a lot of action now. We're just waiting for people to come out of the pits for their final run. Just seeing Patrick cutting across the final sector to get back into the pits in time. J-Luke is actually going for another run on his soft tyres. He is up in ERS mode 4 and he did improve in the first sector, so he's deciding to go for a third lap on those soft tyres. That doesn't seem like the best strategy in my eyes, considering how quickly the softs do go off, but he may have a different plan to the people around him. Let's see if he improves in the middle part of the lap as well then. He comes up to the second sector mark.
I reckon he'll probably peel off into the pits at the end of this lap.
I imagine he would, yeah. He's just actually gone 4/10 of a second faster, and he's invalidated as well, yeah. So, yeah, I think he's definitely got a lot of pace in that car. Put a fresh set of soft tyres on him, and he may actually jump right to the front of the field. So, maybe he was just getting a banker lap in on his in lap to see what kind of pace he had in his back pocket for his next soft run.
Well, right now, the only person who hasn't set a lap is UK Coxey.
Yeah, I believe he's just started his first one actually. Yeah, he's coming through turn 3. It was a bit wide of the apex though. Had a little bit of understeer mid-corner. So he comes up to the end of the first sector and it's a 17.3, which I think is about 3/10 off the fastest that we've had in the first sector so far. We've got a few other people starting their final runs. I believe we've got Jerome starting his final run. And I believe Kieran's just started his final run as well. We'll stay on board with Coxey then as he finishes his lap. He's going to be the first person of the people that have come out of the pits to finish their lap. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. That's, I believe, just one of the Alfa Romeos moving out of the way of his teammate. Let's see where Coxey ends up then.
I think Coxey is on the controller as well. It looks like some very sharp movements, just not being clean with the analog movement at the moment.
Yeah, not quite as smooth. 57.6 at the end of the second sector. I think at this moment in time, this isn't going to gain him many places. He'll probably end up around the likes of Max and ST5 at the moment. Is probably where he'll end up. I believe Hayden's also on a lap as well. I think he's trying to improve from his P19 position at the moment. A little bit wide of the apex there, but manages to recover it well. Over the curb again. A little bit wide on the exit of that corner, but just keeps it out the barrier. That's so easy to do at that corner. It's just run wide and put it in the barrier. Let's see then as he comes around the last corner. Where does this put him? As Max has actually retired from the session. And he crosses the line. It's a 36 flat, so he goes up to P17, just ahead of SD5 then. Just looking through the rest of the field then. I believe Hayden's coming up to the line. Hayden improves and he takes P17 in the end on a 35.8. So he takes over P18 from Coxey. And I believe Jerome's just finished his lap.
I think Jeroen is down on his time. Oh no, he's 5 thousandths quicker.
Wow. I believe we've got one of the Ferraris coming up to the line. I think that Super Gamer starting his lap, that is, yeah. We've got McCrew on a lap. As he coming up to finish his lap then. We'll stay on board with McCrew. He's obviously the first of the championship runners to finish his lap. Ghost is just starting his final run now. Let's see what McCrew can do. Through the last penultimate corner and then into the last one. It's a wide entry, a little bit of understeer mid-corner, but on the exit of the corner, and he does a 34.1. He improves by a tenth, but doesn't gain a place because of it. Oh no, that's a complete lie. Sorry, he passed Matty. He goes up to P4, but he's not.
He's over 2/10 up.
Yeah,
2.5 up.
Purple middle sector from Matty, so McCrew's under pressure from Matty again, and he wasn't able to outqualify Ghost. So Ghost is ahead of his championship rival. Toxic crossed the line, but I don't know if he invalidated on his run because he's going again. He didn't improve. And I believe J-Luke's just started his time now as the qualifying session comes to an end. We've got one of the Alphas coming up to the line. They'll be the first person to finish. And that was Daniel, and he goes P5 on exactly the same time as McCrew. Wow. Exactly the same time, but because he said it after him, he's not going to take P4 off of him. So McCrew's safe. Here comes Matty to the line. Does he improve in the last sector? He does, and he goes ahead of McCrew then. So Matty retakes P4.
How close that is.
Wow, second to fourth, 0.03 of a second, incredibly close. Sparholt's invalidated, so he's not going to be improving, and Ghost is down on his time, so he's not improving at all either. We've got one of the McLarens off just before the finish line. Got one of the Ferraris coming up to the line now as well. Believe that's going to... Is that Super Gamer coming up to the line? It is. Super Gamer crosses the line, doesn't improve. So he stays in P11.
Also got Aquaplaning in out the way of Ghost, who's in the penultimate corner now. We'll see if he was able to gain any time in the final sector. He was down in the middle sector, so
he comes up to the line. He does improve, only just, with a purple final sector. A brilliant final sector. It was 2/10 better, 2 pence better than his personal best, but it only puts him P2. So, well, could have been if he strung his full lap together. He would have been on pole by the looks of things.
And Toxic is up by over a 10, so this could just solidify his pole position here.
Little bit wide in the penultimate corner. Had a bit of understeer mid-corner. Oh, and he spun on the exit of the last corner as well. Too eager on the power. And he's thrown it away, but he's still on pole at the time being. No one's been able to knock him off the top step yet. I think we've only got Hypes on the lap at this point. And Hypes is... Yeah, Janetsky's way down on his time.
They're done for the session, I think.
Yeah, Janetsky's way down in time, and Hypes is invalidated somewhere on his lap, so he's given up on his run, so he'll stay P8 in the end. But yeah, Toxic pretty lucky that he didn't have to set another time. He would, if he had improved on that time anyway, he would have been on 2 lap older softs than the people around him, so he's kind of lucky in a way that no one ended up qualifying him in the end, and he takes pole by less than 0.5 of a second.
I think that's got to be the closest qualifying session I've seen this season.
Wow, look at that. Yeah, it's got to be less than a 10th covers the top 4. That was incredible. I think it was the same in Mexico. I think it was the top 5 are covered by a 10th, so that's incredible. The top 6 covered by 2/10 because McCrew and Daniel set exactly the same time. So, wow, what a brilliantly close session. So it's Totsi then that takes pole ahead of Ghost and Sparholt P3. Matty takes P4 ahead of McCrew in P5. Daniel P6. Janetsky 7th. Hypes is 8th ahead of Callum in 9th. And J. Luke rounds out the top 10 in the end. Patrick's the first person outside the top 10 in 11th ahead of Super Gamer Jerome, Philippe, Kieran, Aquaplaning, Hayden and Coxey. And then I believe it's SD5 and then Max at the back of the grid.
So the top 10 all within a second, and that's actually a fantastic performance from everyone in qualifying.
Absolutely, it's really fantastic to see everyone so close together on a track that it's not the easiest to string a lap together around Abu Dhabi. So, and a track that could promote quite big distances between people because of how technical the circuit is. It can be pretty easy for people that are good at the track to romp away at the front. So it's incredible to see how close the whole field is around this track.
I put Abu Dhabi kind of similar to Singapore in a way. It's a real confidence building track now. You just got to build your confidence lap after lap around you.
Absolutely, yeah. I probably would agree with you on that one. It's definitely pretty similar to Singapore in that.
It's not quite Monaco.
Yeah, it's not quite Monaco, but it's pretty similar to Singapore in that you have to set a bank lap really, and then build up from there and build your confidence from there. That's definitely kind of how we saw that session play out, and that's definitely how it's ended up for a lot of people. Then, so let's have a look at tyre strategies while the formation lap gets underway. Then, let's have a look, see what everyone's starting on, and it's a bit of a mix then outside the top 10. So the only people outside the top 10 starting on the softs are Jerome, Philippe and Kieran in 13th, 14th and 15th. 11th, 12th and then 16th down to last are all starting on the mediums. So a real mix of tyre strategies, and that's going to wreak havoc really on the people in the top 10. You have to pick quite early. They're going to come out behind a lot of medium runners.
Yeah, and the good thing about starting on the mediums, if you're outside the top 10, is that you have that choice. You're able to react to everything around you. You're not completely committed to a two-stop.
Yeah.
You have that option.
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely react to what the likes of the other medium runners or people on the softs are doing. You can definitely see what you think works best, and hey, you never know what happens in a race as well. A safety car may come out mid-race, and someone starting on the mediums might want to then put the hards on at that safety car restart and then come in. So it can definitely pay. It can definitely pay dividends, but it can also be a deficit if we do get a safety car pretty early on in the race. I imagine pretty much all of the soft runners, bar maybe 13th, 14th, and 15th, will come in very
I
early on.
even think they'll be in.
Yeah, probably will actually. Yeah. Now that I think about that, they probably would be in pretty early if we get a safety car on the likes of maybe even lap 1, lap 2. They might come in pretty early, put a set of mediums on, and then do 2 medium stints to the end of the race just to get rid of those softs. So it all depends really on how the first lap plays out. But I'm gonna pressure you, Ivor, for your top 3 for this race. Who do you think is going to come out on top?
I think Toxic for the win.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ghost will get second, McCrew third.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think we're going to see something special from Ghost. I think Ghost is going to have to put up a real fight to try and keep this championship alive. So I think we might see Ghost win the race today. Second, I'll go for Toxic. Third, I'm going to go for Matty in third.
But we got the real prediction now. Do we think we're going to see a safety car?
I think yes. I think we will see at least one. I think we'll definitely see a virtual at some point. A full safety car is probably very likely. So, yeah, I would not be surprised if we see one today. But yeah, everyone lining up on the grid then. Here we go then for the start of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Just waiting for the lights to come on ahead of the drivers. Bit of a long hold. Here we go then. Here come the lights then. Toxic angled towards the wall, as is Ghosts. 5 lights ahead of the drivers then. Who gets the best start? Off the line. It looks like a pretty equal start. Toxic actually gets a brilliant start and he's already gone. Oh, Daniel made a little mistake off the line. He's dropped back a few places, but Toxic holds a pretty steady lead into turn 1 ahead of Ghosts. Sparholt and Matty are side by side through turn 2, but Sparholt has more momentum around the outside and holds on to P2 for the time being. Meanwhile, further down the field...
Super game again, really out of shape there in turn 3. Same with Dron.
Ooh, a number of people getting a little bit out of shape there, but everyone's made it through so far. One of the Ferraris is slow, that Super Gamer. He's maybe got a little bit of damage from that. He was the second medium runner on the grid, but he's dropped right to the back of the field now.
End plate gone.
Oh, that's such a shame. Maybe contact them with someone, or maybe if he hit the wall. Not quite sure what happened there. But at the front of the field, Toxic and Ghost starting to spread their legs a little bit and get ahead of Sparholt, and then it's Matty in P3. McCrew stays P4. Hypes is still in P6 ahead of Janetsky in P7. Callum's 8th. Daniel down to 9th after a bit of a poor start. J. Luke holds the top 10. And Patrick, the first medium runner, still in 11th, so he's holding well on those mediums for the time being. Philippe, Jeroen and Kieran have all made up a place on Super Gamer because of his mistake. But yeah, we've got Matty and Sparholt again very close together, but Matty not quite able to get the move done on the racing point, so he stays in P4. McCrew looking really racy in behind as well, trying to make as many places as he can quickly. Oh, someone really wide in the background there. Not quite sure who that was.
Patrick and J. Luke side by side through the...
Oh, my word.
That is not a place where you want to go side by side.
Absolutely not, and I think J. Luke tried to hold it around the outside, but Patrick, in the end, on the mediums, is able to take P10 away from J. Luke. So Patrick, sorry. He's going to be one to look out for. He's looking really racy on those mediums, and they do not look like they're struggling at all. He looks pretty confident on them. Behind them, Philippe, I believe, is all over the back of J. Luke. Always a little bit wide on the exit there, so Jeroen may be coming up to pressure him. Yeah, Philippe and Jeroen side by side.
Maybe Kieran as well.
Ooh, a little bit of a lag spike there, but Jeroen is through, I believe, on Philippe, and he's up to P12. Kieran not quite able to make the move stick either.
Oh, Philippe's gone wide though on the exit of turn 3, and Kieran's through.
Yeah, Kieran's through, and I think Coxie thinks about it as well. Coxie ran the outside of the chicane.
Oh,
is he going to get the move done? He has.
3-second time pen.
Yeah, 3-second time pen for Philippe for cutting the inside, but Coxie makes the move stick as well. So Coxie's had a good start on those mediums. He's up a few places already.
Oh, Janetsky on hypes by into the chicane, and Matty and
McCrew are side by side as well. McCrew not able to get the move, is going to try in the next straight. Janetsky and Hypes side by side. Janetsky's through and up into P6. Can Hypes get him back down the straight? Obviously, there's no...
Callum losing the back end there. I think a little bit of contact with Daniel for 8th place.
And they're 3 wide then. Here comes Callum and Patrick as well. Patrick on the inside. Is he going to be able to take the move? Toxic already with a time penalty on the second lap. Callum breaks late enough to hold on to P9. Patrick holds P10 ahead of J. Luke, so they stay in the same order. But yeah, Toxic, our race leader, already with a time penalty. Oh, Daniel, a massive moment there. He just about holds on to it, but he's really struggling on those soft tyres. He's made a number of errors so far in these first 2 laps, really struggling with traction. And through the rest of the field then, McCrew still behind Matty, not able to make the move stick. Janetsky looking pretty fast in behind these guys as well, but it's the top 3 that are starting to sprint away a little bit up front. So got a little bit of a timing glitch on my end, so we can't quite see the gaps yet. Oh, we got a safety car.
Hayden out.
Yeah, Hayden spins on the exit of the left-hander. And we've got a few people in. So we've got Philippe and J. Luke are in. Lucky for the likes of the leaders, though, I believe they've already passed the safety car. So there will still be a delta out. They won't lose any time to the people that have pitted already. So they're saved in that sense.
If Super Gamer comes back in and chucks on a set of mediums.
Yeah, that might be the best option for Super Gamer, running down at the back of the field. I don't think running on the softs is going to be the best option for him at this time. Does he come in? We'll stay on board with him. No, he's going to stay out. I think he thought about it. Yeah, he definitely thought about it, but I think he just decided to stay out on those softs. But yeah, like you said, not quite sure about that strategy. But on board with J. Luke and Philippe, they're the only two that pitted so far, and they've actually put another set of the softs on instead of a set of the mediums. So they've gone for something a little bit different. They think that the softs can go a bit further than first predicted. I think Jeron and Kieran. Yeah.
Swapping places, and that's a bit strange.
Just saw that. I'm not sure if Kieran accidentally passed Jeron behind the safety car and let him back through, or what that was. But yeah, Jeron's up to P11 and Kieran down to 12th. So that was a bit of an odd one. Just looking then, we'll go on board with the race leaders and we'll see who decides to pit, see if anyone decides to stay out. We imagine that Patrick will probably stay out. But like we said before the race started, that this is a real shame for the likes of Patrick and Coxie and Aquaplanning, Max and ST5, in that their strategy was all based on them not really having a safety car and not giving the people on the softs the advantage of being able to pit early and not lose that much time. But now they're all going to pit, and Patrick's going to be at the front of the queue on 2-lap older tyres and an extra stop to make.
Alright, Toxic is in, and so's Ghost.
So is Sparhole and Matty. I think everyone's coming in at this point. Yeah, everyone's in. All the soft runners then.
He's going to get held up by Sparhole, so that's going to be...
that's a shame for Janetsi. He's going to drop behind the likes of Pipes and Daniel and Callum at this point. And probably Jeron and Kieran as well. Although I believe Jeron's going to get held as well because his teammate came into the pits. Yeah, Jeron's going to get held as well. So that's another person that has to wait. Where does Toxic come out then? He comes out still in P6. He's behind all of the medium runners then that started on the medium tyres. J. Luke obviously stayed out. J. Luke, where does he come out? J. Luke's actually undercut quite a few people in that whole pit stop process. He's actually passed the likes of McCrew and Hypes, and he's already up. He's up to P10, which is of the people that have pitted is a net P5. So he's made quite a few gains in that safety car period. As has Philippe. He's passed his Alfa Romeo teammate. Callum's dropped to 15th. Janetsky down in 16th. What a disaster for him. And Jerome as well. He's the last person to have pitted, and he's down in 18th place. So they've dropped a number of positions.
Yeah, that's the major issue with double stacking, especially in the safety car. Is that everyone comes into the pit, so it costs even more when you double stack.
Absolutely, yeah, and it isn't really like the likes of Jeron and Janetsky could have done anything else. Staying out on the softs probably would have been worse for them in terms of strategy, so it's a shame they're just going to have to try and work their way forwards again and back up to the positions that they were in, but I imagine we'll probably see some pretty feisty racing from those two as they try and work their way back through the field.
I'm really intrigued now by the strategy from J. Luke.
Yeah, I definitely am as well. Safety car in this lap, so Super Gamer's caught back up pretty quickly, so it's only 2 laps behind the safety car. But yeah, J. Luke on those softs, he's going to be pitting a lot earlier than everyone else around him. We'll have to see how fast he is on those softs, but he's not going to be able to take them very far. So I wonder if he's going to stretch the medium stint out, or if he's going to go for a set of hards. We'll have to find out what he does. But yeah, it's a bit of an interesting strategy from J. Luke and Philippe.
This is what I was thinking. I mean, he could probably take those softs to, I'd say, around lap 9, 10-ish, just because of the safety car laps.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking as well. And he hasn't done qualifying on those tyres, we don't imagine. So probably about lap 10 is when he'd pit. But can he really do 18 laps on the soft tyres as Coxie picks up a time penny? But that was with a collision with Aquaplanning, who's behind him on the grid. So that was a little bit of a weird one there. As one ball with Patrick. Has Patrick gone yet? He's waiting until the very last moment to go. When does he go? He's going to take a wide line for the last corner. And he goes mid-corner then, so he's already off. And Jerome picks up a time penalty as well. Patrick gets a good restart there ahead of Coxie. Gaps him pretty well. Let's see what... Oh, look at that. Oh, DRS. Aquaplanning. Massive contact with the back of Coxie. And they've spun. Oh, and it's caught Toxic in it. Toxic hits the side. Hits the side of Coxie. Oh, and DRS Aquaplanning is round at turn 2 as well. Not quite sure what happened there. Aquaplanning completely outbraked himself for turn 1 and just ploughed straight into the back. ploughed straight into the back of Coxey, and then just continued to hit the back of Coxey, and Coxey spun round and it caught Toxic in it as well, so that's disaster for those three. They're already completely out of the running for this one now, and that's a number of people through. I'm not sure if anyone else picked up damage. Oh, Kieran's all over the road on the exit of the hairpin, so he's lost a few places. Ghost is up to third, he's already passed.
Three-way with Sparholt, ST5 and J-Luke.
Let's go through, and Sparholt's going to pass them, so Sparholt's up to P4, J-Luke's up. Is Steve going to try and battle with McCrew? He's a little bit wide. McCrew's up the inside. And I think he's going to let his Red Bull teammate through. He is. So McCrew's up to P7 then. But what a chaotic restart.
Well,
yeah, 3 wide again in the background. Daniel, Callum and Philippe are 3 wide coming into the chicane. Going will be Callum, who's in the middle. Daniel down the inside. He's nice and late on the brakes. Philippe can't get the switch back on Callum. So Daniel's up to P10 ahead of Callum in P11. But what a crazy restart this has been. What a shame for the likes of Toxic, Aquaplanning and Coxey, all at the back of the field with front wing damage. They're going to have to hope for another safety car to bring them back into contention for this one. As like, oh, Jerome really late on the brakes. He almost slams straight into the side of Janetsky, far too late on the brakes, and he picks up a time penalty because of it as well. They just get away with it by the looks of it, so Janetsky's up to P13 from 16th at the restart. What a crazy restart this has been. Need to catch my breath, but look at the top two. Patrick and Ghosts absolutely gone from the rest of the field. 2 seconds clear of third place.
Yeah, interesting thing with that instant with Toxic, Aquaplanet and Coxey. Both Sparholt and Ghost were able to avoid it. Ghost going completely off track, Sparholt stayed on track, and I think Sparholt got illegal overtakes, which is why he's dropped a little bit too far off the back. He had to allow both ST5 and J-Luke back through.
Sparholt, meanwhile, has just passed Max, so he's up to P3, but he's almost nearly 3 seconds off the back of Ghost. Ghost is absolutely flying. He's nearly caught Patrick already, so obviously Patrick on older medium tyres, but Ghost looking pretty racy on his mediums at the moment. He's looking really confident out front. He's about to take the race lead, I think, from Patrick. Obviously there's no DRS yet, but is he close enough to make the move down into the chicane? I don't think it's quite close enough unless he's late on the brakes. He has a look, but he's not quite close enough to make the move stick, so we're not going to see that move from him. Just looking through the rest of the field, we've got Coxey. Coxey's left the session. He retired in the pit lane, which I think is fair enough. He absolutely got wiped out at turn 1, which is such a shame for him. For the rest of the field,
McCrew and Hypes double the dive bomb into the chicane there on Max.
So Max has actually dropped down to P8. He's lost a number of places. Jay Luke's up to 4th now, and Matty's in behind in 5th. Super Gamer up to 13th ahead of Kieran as well. SD5 is falling down the field now. He fell from the front of the field. He's down to 15th already, so he's had a terrible restart for him. Having a look, Super Gamer and Philippe.
Patrick now.
Oh yeah, Ghost on the back of Patrick. Is he going to make a move? He's not close enough, and turn 1's not really an overtaking spot. Oh, he has a look though. He's not quite close enough though, so Patrick holds P1, but Ghost is really, look how eager Ghost is to try and get past Patrick. He's pretty much pushing him through these corners, but he's going to go for the inside for the chicane. Is he going to go for it? He is going to make the move.
I think that's a mistake. He could have got DRS.
He could have, I think, yeah, and Patrick's going to get DRS now, but Patrick was really wide in the chicane, so actually Ghost may be saved by the fact that Patrick had a poor run through the chicane anyway, so yeah, Ghost has already gone, so he's actually been saved by that. For Sparholt's now within DRS range of Patrick as well, so he's caught these guys pretty quickly.
In behind Matty and J-Luke, Matty to the inside.
Yeah, Matty to the inside, going to take a net P3 in this race. And he's still on J-Luke pretty easy. Those soft tyres for J-Luke aren't really working at this point. The medium runners around him are starting to catch and pass him at this point now. So Matty up to P3, a net P3, it's P4 on the road. McCrew's next in behind, and then it's Hypes as well. Hypes doing really well to keep up with these guys. He was struggling a little bit in the first part of the race, but the safety car restarts really helped him. 3 wide in the background again.
Double the dive bomb again. Callum on Max.
Yeah, and Callum's up to P9, Janetsky up to P10. Meanwhile, Sparholt has passed Patrick through the double right-hander, and look at that. Sparholt's nearly within a second of Ghost, so Sparholt's absolutely flying, and he's within a second now, so he's got possible DRS, he's within possible DRS range of Ghosts. Sparholt's absolutely flying at this point in the race, and Ghost picks up his first time penalty, as does Sparholt. Yeah, so the penultimate corner strikes again. It is very easy to pick up a time penalty at the penultimate corner, but Sparholt with the fastest lap at 38.2. So let's see if anyone can match that from around the field. Just having a look through the rest of the field as well. Obviously, it's pretty close throughout the field. Behind J-Luke, there's a bit of a queue forming now. But obviously they're going
I'm
to...
looking at this gap between Matty and Patrick. It is flying down. As the gap from Spa-Hall to Patrick is flying away.
Yeah, Patrick really starting to struggle. Oh, we've got Callum off. Callum spun on the exit at turn 3. Turn 3's came another victim. Oh, and Janetsky's gone with him, so I wonder if there was contact between those two.
And Jerome.
Jerome's gone as well, so 3 people off at turn 3. What a disaster that is. And Toxic, meanwhile, sets the fastest lap. He's in the 37s. Shame for him, he's absolutely flying, but he's 22 seconds off the back of Jerome in front of him. So having a look for
so VSC, and that could have been very timely there for Ghosts.
Absolutely, yeah. Spa-Hall within DRS range. He's kind of been saved from that, as has Jay Luke from the likes of McCrew and Hype. So a few people saved by that virtual safety car. But yeah, it was a little bit of chaos at turn 3 then. So I'm not sure if there was contact between Janetsky and Callum, but they were both off at exactly the same point in the road. So, and they were fighting, so weren't quite able to see that one. But those 3 are going to have to pit and change their front wings, and that's going to drop them behind the likes of Toxic and maybe Aquaplaning as well. Waiting for the virtual safety car to go in. We'll get racing once again. Oh, we've got someone with a time penalty. That's Jerome again with a 3-second time penalty. I think I saw someone pop up saying that they got a drive through just before that, but Spa-Hall with a brilliant restart. He's on the back of Ghosts again.
I saw another name pop up as well just before Jerome's did.
Yeah,
they just flashed out a sight immediately.
Yeah, because Jerome picked up his time penalty, so I'm not quite sure who got that for speeding. I think someone sped into the safety car. Ghost a little bit all over the place in turn 3. Spa-Hall a bit wide, but Ghost able to keep that 7/10 gap. I think he's just about safe from Spa-Hall down the first straight. That's a bit of a big gap to try and pass someone in.
Look at Maddie now all over the back of Patrick.
Yeah, Matty going for P3 then. Spa-Hall not close enough to Ghost down the first straight, I don't think. He's probably going to wait and try again for the second straight. Meanwhile, McCrew on the back of J Luke as well. McCrew has surely got this moved on J Luke. I don't think J Luke's going to defend it. No, he's going to move out of the way. Meanwhile, Matty on Patrick is down the inside, but he's not late enough on the brakes to make the move. Meanwhile, McCrew takes P5. Was he going to go for the move?
Beautiful there, Matty.
He does, yeah. One of the Williams is round, I think. That's Toxic again, I think, that spun at turn 3. It is. So Toxic had another moment and another virtual safety car because of it. So a disastrous race for Toxic. He's had another spin at turn 3. And that's going to have to be another pit stop and another front wing change for him.
I mean, he did say before the race that we shouldn't go on board with him. And to be honest, we haven't really that much, but...
we haven't gone on board with him, no. But
just seems to be happening all by himself at the moment.
Yeah, obviously... Toxic mentioned to us that he doesn't want us to go on board because he thinks he'll bustle the races, but he's kind of doing it all on his own at the moment. I think we've cursed him just by saying his name. Unfortunately, he's had a bit of a disastrous race from pole. We don't know what's going to happen though. Another safety car might bring him back into play, but a real disaster for him so far. As Patrick's into the pits then, so Patrick makes his first stop as the virtual safety car gets going again. So that's pretty early for his mediums. I imagine he'll probably put another set of mediums on. And that is what he's doing, yeah. So another set of mediums for Patrick. Or is that a set of softs? No, it's a mediums. There's a tire glitch then. So it's softs for Patrick. Where does he come out relative to the people around him? He's way off the back of the queue at the moment behind ST5. He's out in a lot of fresh air though, so he's got to make hay while the sun shines and get some good pace in on those mediums while he's in fresh air. And we'll see where he can come out relative to people around him when they make their stops.
Yeah, Hype's all over the back of J Luke now for 5th place, and I think this has got to be the pit stop window now for J Luke on those softs.
Absolutely, yeah. I imagine he'll probably do the same thing as Patrick and come in at the end of this lap maybe, but I don't think the mediums can go that long, so he might have to put the hards on. You can definitely tell he's struggling. Meanwhile, Spa-Hall for the lead. Spa-Hall's not quite close enough on Ghost, so Ghost just holds on to the lead for the time being. And I don't think...
just see Ghost pick up a 3-second time pen as Toxic into the pits and retires.
Retired. Yeah, so Toxic not waiting for that another safety car to bring him back in. He's given up on the race and he's retired from the race, so that adds into the retirements of Coxie and Hayden as well. So Hope's not able to make the move on J Luke just yet, but we'll see if J Luke is coming into the pits at the end of this lap. Meanwhile, looking through the rest of the field, Super Gamer's up to 8th, so he's had a pretty good safety car restart, but he's on the same strategy as J Luke, so I imagine we'll see him in pretty soon as well. As I say, that is really wide. Oh, Hypes has spun. Hypes has made a mistake. Just as we go off board with him, he's spun. And Daniel's now through into P6, so Hypes has dropped way down into 7th and is nearly caught by Super Gamer. And you can tell his tyres are red hot. Is he going to come to the pits? He is. Hypes is in. I don't know if he picked up damage from that spin. It didn't look like he was facing the right way to have picked up damage from the wall, but his medium tyres are absolutely cooking and he's decided to get rid of them and put a set of hards on by the looks of things. He thinks that the hards are the better race tyre. So hards at the end of the race for Hypes.
I think that's a mistake. The hards, they'll definitely get you to the end, but they are so slow.
Yeah, Philippe's done the same thing as well. He's put the hards on because he came in at the first safety car restart and put another set of softs on, so he's come in and had to put the hards on as well. We'll see how fast they are, but like you say, compared to the two stop on the mediums, they are going to be incredibly slow in comparison. See what else everyone else is doing. We've got Kieran on max for P8. Kieran's on the inside. Callum's retired now at turn 3. That's another person off at turn 3. He's retired on the outside though this time, so I think he might have had a snap mid-corner and then tried to correct it, and it's just not worked for him.
Jerome getting very wide on the turn 3 curb in there. And that's another VSC.
Another VSC. That's 3 in the space of about 4 laps. And Callum's actually left the session because of that, so...
Oh, Jerome wheel spins it up at the hip and nearly loses the back end.
It's all kicking off so far. We've had a number of people dropping it. But this is a complete disaster for Mercedes in the manufacturers. That's something we completely forgot about. Callum in the Mercedes and the manufacturers is out, and so is Coxey. It's over for them, yeah. Unless Toro Rosso can score more points than Red Bull, it's over.
That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The gap's already 47 points.
I think Toro Rosso have the chance to bring the points down to under 44, but actually, as I say that, Hayden's already out of the race, so it may already be over. And McCrew obviously in the points. It looks like it's over, and it looks like we have a new manufacturers champion then. So it looks like the first manufacturers championship. Spit my words out. The first manufacturers champion for Intelligence Race League looks like it's going to be Red Bull with McCrew in P4, one Toro Rosso, and both Mercedes out of the race.
Yeah, the gap between Red Bull and Toro Rosso is 70 points.
70 points. So take that. It's 44 points is what they have to do.
88.
Wow.
88 is the maximum that they can get out of.
Yeah, but out of this race, out of this race though, with Hayden out of the race, Ghost would have to win and set the fastest lap for them to be level on 44 points. So we'll have to see what Ghost can do. But he's under pressure from Sparholt. But Sparholt's not going to go for the move. We've had a yellow flag in sector 3. That's Jerome, who's retired from the session from the back of the field. Meanwhile, we completely missed. Matty's absolutely flying, and he's caught the top 2 now. He's also within DRS range. So Ghost starting to struggle a little bit. And Matty's starting to catch the top 2.
To my knowledge, Matty hasn't picked up a time penalty yet.
I don't think he has now. I think we've seen Sparholt and Ghost pick up one at pretty much exactly the same time. We haven't seen Matty pick one up yet, and I don't think we've seen McCrew pick one up either. So McCrew's still within possible penalty range of the top 2. Just looking in behind, we had J-Luke and Super Gamer come into the pits on that lap as well. Super Gamer put the hards on. J-Luke has gone for the mediums, so he's going to try and extend those mediums to the end of the race. I mean, it's a little mistake, and he's got Patrick all over him at the moment. But I don't think Patrick's going to be able to get the move done on J-Luke. J-Luke pitted behind the virtual safety car, I believe, so he's gained a bit of time from that. And that's put him ahead of Patrick in the end. We'll see how fast J-Luke is.
Left the session as well.
Yeah, after retiring in the pit lane by the looks of things. ST5 is in then for his first stop after starting on the mediums. Let's see what tyres he puts on. Is it going to be another set of mediums? Is it going to be... I think it's a set of softs that he's putting on. It is another set. It's a set of softs by the looks of things. So he's going to do a soft stint and then maybe another soft stint.
I had all 3 tyres pop up there in the pits room.
You never really know...
mediums and softs.
You never really know what tyre it's going to be until they leave the pit lane. On board though with second place Sparholt. Surely he's close enough to Ghost for the move now. Ghost really starting to struggle. Sparholt looking far more confident. Does Ghost defend? He does. He goes right to the inside of the track. Sparholt to the outside. Has he got the move done? Ghost laid on the brakes. He keeps the inside for the track. Sparholt tries the switchback, but the nature of the corner doesn't really allow for the switchback to work. So Ghost holds on to the lead for the time being. Good defensive driving from Ghost, but you can definitely see that out of the top 3, Ghost is the one that's struggling the most at this point.
Yeah, I think Matty at the moment's got the better pace out of these 3.
Yeah, Matty definitely looks like he's the fastest of the three. He looks like he's held onto his tyres better. I think he's kind of just waiting for the strategies to play out. I think he's going to wait for when these guys pit, and that's when he'll unleash his pace and try and undercut maybe these two, or even overcut depending on what his pace is like. McCrew at this point in the race though doesn't quite have the pace of the top four. We're starting to lose touch of them a bit more now. It was under 3 seconds to Matty at the end of the last lap. It's now 3.6, so McCrew kind of in a race on his own at the moment in fourth, but at this point in the race, that's all he needs to do. Yeah, McCrew, all he needs to do is run a pretty lonely race in P4.
So just on board with Max, he's lost out the final corner into the wall.
Oh, what a shame. Out of the last corner, he's going to have to do a full lap with damage to his front wing and overheating medium tyres. That's such a shame for Max. Obviously, he has to keep going, though. There's still all to play for. This race has been chaotic as it has been so far. And that's the fourth virtual safety car, as we had Kieran spinning at turn 3. That's why we have the virtual safety car. So another spinner at turn 3.
That's got to be... I think all the turn 3s have been because they're hard racers.
I think so, yeah. I think that the mixture of that and the fact that pretty much all the people apart from, I think maybe Callum and Janetsky, the only people that spun there are the people on older mediums, so they're really struggling with temperatures. Kieran there thought about passing Patrick down the back straight because he got a much better virtual safety car restart, but with the front wing damage, he doesn't want to overtake his teammate and compromise him. So, see where Kieran comes out. He'll probably drop round to the likes of Janetsky and ST5 when he pits. Meanwhile, Max has gone
past.
He completely cut the chicane though.
He cut the corner actually.
Yeah, I think he completely outbraked himself for the chicane, but he's let Super Gamer back through. Obviously, really struggling on those old tyres, and Hypes is through as well, and back up into the top 10 on those hards. Just looking at the top, then it's still status quo in the top 3. Sparholt not able to make the move yet on Ghosts, and Massey not able to make the move either. But none of them are into the pits yet. I think they're probably the window for stops for the mediums is probably going to be maybe the end of lap 16 is when we're probably going to see people pitting for the mediums for the end of the race. I think if you pit now...
I wouldn't be surprised if Marty or Sparholt decide to pit at the end of this lap.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised myself either, but obviously you do run the risk of your medium tyres burning out quicker than your competitors, and you may start to struggle at the end of the race. Look at Ghost, so wide in the hairpin. Sparholt nearly thought about making the move midway through the hairpin. Surely this is close enough now. Sparholt 2 tenths back.
Oh, yes. Surely, a little bit of contact.
A little bit of contact. This Ghost tries to move over and squeeze Sparholt to the white line, and he's not able to do so. Sparholt's up into the race lead then. Sparholt finally able to make that move, but can Ghost stick close enough through the chicane and get the move done back down the next straight? He doesn't get the good run out of the corner, so Sparholt safe in P1. Matty's just behind Ghost, but obviously Ghost with a DRS, that's going to help him defend. So Matty not able to go up into P2 yet. But that frees up Sparholt. Now does Ghost react to that and pit on this lap? Have to wait and see what's happening with that one. Just having a look at times throughout the field, Jay Luke on those new mediums is absolutely flying compared to Daniel. I think he's taken about a second and a half out of Daniel in one lap, so the undercut is looking...
makes a mistake.
Ooh, he's just able to get away with it by the looks of things. Matty not able to pass him. But yeah, Jay Luke, those fresh mediums, the undercut looking incredibly powerful around this track. Does anyone come into the pits? Sparholt and Matty come in. And Ghost decides to stay out. So, bit of an odd choice that is, I think, for Ghost to stay out. He looks like the one that was struggling the most, but he thinks it's better to run those mediums a bit longer and maybe go for a fresher set at the end of the race when the others around him might struggle. Matty's put the softs on.
Now that is a bold call.
That's very bold. He's going to have to make those softs work pretty quickly in this first stint, but those softs are going to go off way before the end of the race at this point. Surely he's not going to be able to take those to the end.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a bit of a conscious strategy, Ghost could be stretching out those mediums to go to the softs at the end.
Yeah. Oh, just looking at the pit exit, Jay Luke's almost undercut Matty at this point. Jay Luke's absolutely flying on those new mediums, but Matty's going to have the better traction, and he just holds on to P5 ahead of Jay Luke. There's a little bit of contact. Yeah, a little bit of contact, but they just got away with it. But yeah, Jay Luke on that undercut almost completely undercut Matty there. So you can see how strong the undercut is at this track. But here goes Jay Luke on Matty.
Yes.
Goes to the outside. Is it going to be fully passed? Matty's laid on the brakes. He's still there on the inside, but Jay Luke's through. But Matty's going to get the much better run through the chicane, and he's already back past. So yeah, Matty back into P5 then. But you can see how much time Matty has lost to Sparholt just fighting Jay Luke. It's already 2 seconds between those two. So this is exactly what Matty did not need at this point in the race. He needs to make these soft tyres work as much as possible.
Sparholt picking up another 3-second time pen.
Wow. That's really going to put him under pressure from Matty at the end of this race. Matty,
well, Hypes and Super Gamer making a bit of contact there in the chicane.
Yeah, the two leading hard runners in 8th and 9th at the moment. That looks like where they're going to end up. They're way off the back of Patrick at this point as Ghost is into the pit lane then. See where he comes out relative to Sparholt and Matty. And I believe
He's
Daniel's...
going to be behind Patrick.
He's put the softs on as well. Ghost has also gone for a set of softs. Quite a few bizarre calls actually. 12 laps on the soft tyres. Surely that is not possible. Where does he come out? Ghost actually ends up coming out behind Matty. So despite Matty battling Jay Luke, Ghost has been massively undercut in that whole strategy choice. He's been completely undercut by Matty.
3 seconds to Sparholt.
Yeah, Sparholt's completely gone at the front, and Sparholt's on the tyres that are definitely going to last him to the end of the race. Matty and Ghost on the faster tyres for the time being, but surely they can't take those to the end. That is going to be a real struggle for them. We've got Janetska on the back of Philippe for the final points position at this point. Philippe really struggling on those hard tyres. You can see he doesn't have a lot of grip.
Looking Patrick having a bit of a dice into the
Oh yeah, Jay Luke gets the better exit, and he's got DRS as well, so he's going to power back pass down the back straight. Patrick not able to do anything about it. Meanwhile, Janetsky is going to take the final points position away from Philippe on those medium tyres, but they're 8 laps old already, so he's surely going to have to come into the pits again. As I say that, Janetsky completely outbrakes himself, and there's McCrew's first time penalty, so he's the first person to pick one up. McCrew, the only person that hasn't stopped yet out of the lead runners. Here comes Philippe again on the back of Janetsky for the final points place. Philippe thinks about it on the outside. He's going to try and stick him on the outside, but Janetsky shuts the door and holds on to P10.
And then comes McCrew.
And what tyres does McCrew put on? McCrew's going to put the mediums on by the looks of things, so he doesn't think the softs can go to the end. So he's gone for a different strategy. Matty, meanwhile, sets a 37.1. That's a brilliant lap time, but he's still not within DRS range of Sparholt yet. So Sparholt holding pretty good pace on those mediums. Let's see where...
he was only half a second quicker than Sparholt on those mediums. Those mediums are going to be much more consistent.
Absolutely, yeah. Those softs are probably going to be faster for maybe about 4 or 5 laps, and then it'll start to level out. So Matty has to try and catch him pretty quickly. But at this point, Ghost is closer to Matty than Matty is to Sparholt. Meanwhile, McCrew came out of the pit lane. He's behind Patrick and Jay Luke, but their tyres are much older at this point, so he's going to catch those guys pretty quickly, I think. But like we said earlier, McCrew's doing all he needs to do to win the Drivers' Championship at this event. He just needs, at this point, to finish in the points. That's all he needs to do. Ghost is not on for the race to win at this point with his time penalties, so we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But at this point, we don't want to curse him, but it looks like Red Bull and McCrew are going to wrap up both Drivers' Championships with 1 round to spare.
Yeah,
I mean,
both constructors and drivers are looking like they're going to get wrapped up here at the moment if it stays as it is.
Exactly. If it stays as it is, it's going to be Red Bull and McCrew that are the drivers and manufacturers champion. Meanwhile, Daniel has passed Super Gamer, so Daniel's up to 7th. Ghost has tried to move on Matty, and it hasn't worked. I think Matty may have run wide, and look, he's lost time to Sparholt. So Sparholt's getting away out front. It's back up to 2 seconds, and Ghost is now starting to battle Matty, which is exactly not what he needs. He kind of needed Matty to catch Sparholt and drag him along with him. They didn't need to be fighting each other at this point. This is really going to hinder their strategy on this soft tyre, and Sparholt has been given another break.
Yeah, I think the one saving grace for Matty at the moment is that we haven't seen a penalty come up from him yet.
Exactly, yeah, we haven't seen
Sparholt's got 2, and I've definitely seen 2 from Ghosts.
Yeah, we haven't seen one from Matty, but at this point, are his tyres going to be able to keep him within 6 seconds of Sparholt? That's the thing. He's definitely faster at this point, but we know how quickly they go off, so he may fall out of that window pretty quickly. Meanwhile, looking behind, McCrew is absolutely flying. He's caught Patrick and Jay Luke by, it looks like almost 2 seconds already, so he's absolutely flying compared to the 2 in front of him. He's going to be on the back of them pretty quickly. And at this rate, with the pace that Jay Luke and Patrick are running and the battles they're having, they may be under pressure from the likes of Daniel at the end of this race.
Yeah, Daniel absolutely flying right now.
Absolutely, yeah. He's definitely gone for I think probably the better strategy, as has McCrew and Sparholt, they've definitely gone for the better strategy at this point. And there's another penalty for Sparholt.
Now that has just made things very interesting because 9 seconds is probably doable for Matty.
Yeah, if he's able to keep this tyres in check and run at a constant pace, 9 seconds is possible for Matty to keep within Sparholt. So this is the problem with Abu Dhabi. It is pretty easy to pick up time penalties here, and it can cost you a lot of places because racing can be pretty close here. Because we've pretty much got battles of 2 or 3 throughout the entire field. So at this point, Sparholt is the fastest man on the track. Well, is going to win on the track, but he's not going to win on penalties at this point. And he's got more than Ghost as well, so he is still under pressure from Ghost at this point. Meanwhile, McCrew's on the back of J. Luke already. He's cut that down completely over the last lap, so he's within DRS range of the 2 in front of him now.
As it stands, Ghost is not doing enough to clinch any kind of Constructors' Championship for Toro Rosso, so...
No. What he needed is for McCrew to retire from the race and for Ghost to win and get the fastest lap. I think that's kind of really the only way that Ghost is gonna take Toro Rosso and himself into the championship fight in Russia, but at this point it doesn't look likely, and it isn't going to happen because Matty, I believe, has the fastest lap at this point in the race, and Ghost is not in the race here. We have a yellow flag again. One of the Ferraris is round. Meanwhile, Ghost is up the inside of Matty for P2, and he makes the move stick. So Ghost more confident on those soft tyres, and he's already through and past Matty, so he's back up into P2. Starting to get a bit of a move on now. Let's see which Ferrari that was that spun.
I don't mind this little bit of strategy from Matty and Jay Ghost. Just swap positions in the DRS, close up to Sparholt.
Yeah, try and battle him from that way on and slow him down and not allow him to get that gap. Meanwhile, McCrew has made his move on Jay Luke, so McCrew's up into P5 now, and he's on the back of Patrick for P4. Ghost picks up another time penalty.
Has Patrick picked up any penalties yet?
I think he has one. I think Patrick has one time penalty, as does McCrew as well, I believe. I'm not quite sure about other people in the field though, but yeah, I think the top 3 are pretty much safe where they are. I don't think Patrick quite has the pace to keep with the top 3 and keep within penalty window. He's over 10 seconds off the back of Matty now on that completely different strategy, and McCrew is about to pass him by the looks of things as well. So that's one thing we can't forget about as well, is that if the top 3 start battling, as we probably predict they will, Patrick is going to come in. McCrew is going to come into play and possibly end up nicking a podium spot. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. I think that's aquaplaning that spun. Meanwhile, Patrick really struggling for grip. He almost completely lost it out of the hairpin, and McCrew is going to fly past down the back straight. Brilliant camera angle as we see him passing Patrick down the back straight, and he's through. So McCrew is back up into P4, but he's almost 11 seconds off the back of the top 3 at this point. Looking through the rest of the field then, what else we've got going on? And aquaplaning's retired, he's hit the wall. Does that bring out any sort of safety car? Haven't seen anything pop up yet. A safety car would throw a real spanner in the works for this race. But I think we may be safe from a safety car. Nothing's popped up on screen yet, so I think we may be safe in terms of safety cars. We've had plenty so far today. I'm not sure whether the drivers would want another one at this point.
Now, I don't want to say anything bad, but it did look like that was what aquaplaning was going for.
Yeah, maybe it might have been intentional. We don't know. He had spun a few times on that lap already, but yeah, that's unfortunate.
And he just drove straight into the wall. I was actually on board with him for it.
He just drove straight into the wall. Wow. Okay, so maybe that was his intention. Maybe to help out his teammate in Super Gamer, but that hasn't quite worked at this point. Speaking of Super Gamer, him and the Hypes are in a massive battle at the moment for P8. They're the 2 leading hard runners at this point. Obviously, with all the chaos that's gone on, they're able to stay in the top 10 on those hards, but Hypes is looking much faster than Super Gamer in front of him at this point. And Patrick has pitted, so he couldn't take those mediums to the end of the race. So he's put on a set of softs. He's going to fall behind the hard runners.
Just behind Janetsky, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be close with Janetsky. Let's see. Yeah, he's going to be just behind, so he's in 10th at the moment. We'll see how quickly he's able to pass Janetsky. Janetsky's tyres are 13 lap old, so I imagine Patrick's going to be up and past Janetsky pretty swiftly. And then it's a case of catching that 5-second gap to the likes of Hypes and Super Gamer for P7.
And Ghost actually showing some very good pace. He's almost in DRS of Sparholt right now.
Yeah, and Matty's not able to keep pace at this point. He's really starting to struggle, and Sparholt's faster than Matty at this point in the race as well. So maybe he's taken a little bit too much life out of those softs early on in the stint, and he's now starting to struggle. But he is still within penalty range window, so maybe he's just doing all he needs to do to steal the win off the two in front of him. Just looking through the field as well. Hypes and Super Gamer, they're battling again. Super Gamer, I think Hypes got passed down the back straight, and then Super Gamer's really going for it at the next chicane. Super Gamer around the outside. They're still side by side. Super Gamer always on the curb on the exit, gets a little bit loose, but Hypes is able to stay on the inside. Super Gamer runs a bit wide. They're still side by side. This is a brilliant battle between these two. And down the inside, Super Gamer he's really shallow on the line. He makes a mistake, and Hypes gets the switch back. He saw that one coming, and Hypes is up into P7.
A great battle from the McLaren and Mercedes drivers. Mercedes, Ferrari. Oh, my head's gone.
Head's gone already, yeah. But look at this though. This has brought Janetsky and Patrick right into it for the battle for P7. Janetsky's only 2 seconds back, and Patrick's right on the back of Janetsky, who makes a mistake at the last corner. So these guys have been brought right into play. Hypes, I think at this point, I think I'm going to have to label Hypes the king of the comebacks. He's, every time I've commentated over INL, Hypes has had something go wrong in the race, and he's managed to work his way back up into a good points place. So he's definitely the comeback king for me at the moment in P7. Let's see if he's able to hold on to it though for the end of the race. Looking through the rest of the field, it's really starting to spread out now. Daniel is catching J-Luke for P5, but at this point, J-Luke...
Patrick on Janetsky.
Is he going to go for the move? Surely he's close enough, yeah. Not really any competition here.
This is going to be interesting because we know Patrick's going to have the pace to get past Super Gamer and Hypes.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to have the pace to catch down Daniel.
No, I think a 9-second gap to Daniel, I think that's just a little bit too far out of reach for Patrick. But a P7 result still good considering how his race has gone. As Sparholt picks up another time penalty. So that's his fourth penalty at this point. So Sparholt's really throwing away this race victory at this point. And Hypes and Super Gamer make contact. I think Super Gamer turned in a little bit too early for that corner while Hypes was still on the inside. And Hypes has spun on the apex of the corner. So he drops down to P10 now. And Patrick's right on the back of Super Gamer now. So that's really helped Patrick out in this battle for P7. He's only got one move to make. This is for P11. Kieran down the inside. But backs out of it. He doesn't think he can make the move stick, so he backs out and stays in P12.
I think, like you said, the only thing that would really spice up the end of this race would be late safety car.
Absolutely, yeah. As Patrick's down the inside of Super Gamer then, and Patrick's made the move stick into turn 1, so he's already up into P7. But at this point, a 10-second gap to Daniel, that's definitely too much to ask at this point with only 5 laps to go. I think that's definitely going to be a tall order as Hypes has come in to set the softs on.
Daniel on J-Luke, that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, Daniel's catching at about a second a lap at this point, and J-Luke's tyres obviously going up. They're 12 laps old at this point, so they're definitely going off. So Daniel may catch, maybe it might be a last lap pass from Daniel on J-Luke for P5 at this point, the way that this is going. Just looking through the rest of the field as well. McCrew is catching Matty, but definitely not fast enough to take any position on track. But he's doing all he needs to do to win the race. There's a yellow flag in sector 2. That's Max, yeah. Max is retired. A safety car is still possible at this point. We'll have to see if one comes out, but I don't think that's the case. I think we're safe for another safety car again. But yeah, this race has been a race of attrition at this point. We've had a number of people making mistakes and falling down to the back of the field. Some people who have made mistakes have kept going, and they've able to bring themselves back into the points. Like from the likes of Janetsky as well and Super Gamer, through mistakes from them, they've been able to work their way back into the top 10. So good on them for staying out and sticking with it. Let's see then. It is really starting to space out now. There's not really any battles on track at this point. It's all about penalties at this point in the race. The only person within DRS range is Kieran on Philippe. Kieran still hasn't been able to make that move stick yet on the Alfa Romeo, so he's going to have to stick behind. As I say that, Philippe runs a little wide. This is for the last points paying position at this point because of Hype's pit stop for the softs.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, does Hypes have the pace to catch up to these two?
It's going to be close. He's definitely the
faster driver.
He's definitely the faster driver. Yeah, and he's going to have much fresher tyres. And obviously Kieran and Philippe are battling at this point. Hypes is going to have to put in some laps of his life to come back into the top 10 at this point, though. It's 8.5 seconds, so he's going to have to absolutely fly in those softs.
You're already taking a second out of him in that final sector alone.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. But I think at this point, if Kieran passes Philippe, Kieran does look like the stronger driver out of the two. So I think Kieran may be able to gap Hypes enough for him to stay in P10, as Kieran's close enough to Philippe, definitely down the back straight. Let's see if he makes a move down into the chicane. Philippe isn't defending yet. He's not moved over from his racing line. Kieran's waiting, actually. Kieran, I think, is going to wait for the second straight so that he isn't repassed. As I say that, Philippe outbrakes himself. Yeah. Kieran man the outside. Kieran's still going to get DRS. But he's got the inside line. And Philippe can't move over on him because he's not fully a car length ahead. So Kieran looks like he's got P10 sewn up. But he's not running any ERS. So he's not got that great straight line speed down the inside. And Philippe actually holds on to the place.
And Daniel's on the back of J. Luke. We mentioned it.
Wow, that's come down incredibly quickly. So this is for P5 then between these two. I think both of these drivers have one penalty at this point. But look at J. Luke struggling so much. Has J. Luke got a puncture? I'm not quite sure if he's struggling, if he's got a puncture or something, but he was so slow through turn 2 and 3. I don't think he has, but his tyres are looking awful at this point. And that's going to put him under pressure from Patrick now, as Matty picks up his first time penalty. Well, so that's...
Matty is only... he's 5 seconds off Spa-Holt. We know Spa-Holt's got 12 seconds of pens.
So he's still within penalty range, but Matty is losing a lot of pace to Spa-Holt now. Matty is definitely...
The question is he going to keep with Ghost, I think?
Yeah.
What's Ghost got? 6 or 9?
I'm not quite sure. I think Ghost has 9 at this point. So Matty's still safe to Ghosts as well. But we obviously don't know what's going to happen for the rest of this race. But Matty just doesn't have the pace really to stick with the two in front of him. So he's going to have to try his hardest to stick within 9 seconds of Spa-Holt and take the position off of him. And for the rest of the field then, J. Luke really struggling. He's already fallen out of a second behind Daniel. And look at Patrick. Patrick's only 4.5 seconds off the back of them. So what you said about Patrick possibly catching Daniel, it almost happened in the end. I think Daniel's probably safe now because he's past J. Luke, but Patrick's on for P6 still. Kieran and Philippe battling.
Now he is
2.8. Wow. He's taken about, in the last 2 laps, he's taken about 7 seconds out of the two in front of him.
They are battling hard for that final point, and then they're going to get a third combatant into this. And
yeah, and look at that, he's already on him.
Different tyre compounds as well. This is fantastic. Yeah,
Kieran finally able to make that move stick on Philippe, but looks a little bit late. Look at the run that Hypes get. It goes round the outside of Philippe. What a brilliant move that is from Hypes. He's got so much more pace. He's going to try and look for a move maybe into turn 1 on Kieran. Kieran all over the road. Hypes had to back out of that one so that he didn't run clean into the back of him. So he's not going to get the move done into turn 1. But look at the grip he's got. He's so much more confident. Almost game over at this point really for Kieran, isn't it? There's not really anything he can do to defend from Hypes at this point. Here's Hypes going to go for the move at the chicane. No, he's going to wait. Oh, meanwhile, Philippe in the background. He's completely spun, completely lost it. And he's hit the wall. Oh, he completely lost it. He tried to correct it and over.
Down the inside.
He's down the inside, takes P10. He's already through. And he's got the grip, but has he got the DRS? I think he has. He has, yeah. So I don't think Kieran's going to be able to come back at him. Although he is. They're side by side.
I think he's got Kieran back through. I think he overtook him on the yellows.
Maybe, yeah. So, but it's got back through again. So Hypes is back up into P10. And look at the grip. He's already gone from Kieran. So Hypes back into the top 10.
Patrick around the outside of the double right-hander.
Wow, he's already through. Completely missed that. But he's caught J. Luke so quickly and he's already through. So J. Luke's tyres are completely dead at this point. There's only 1 lap to go. But if J. Luke does get a puncture at this point, which is looking very close to puncture territory, he may come under pressure from the likes of Super Gamer at this point. I
mean, we're speaking about puncture territory. Janetsky, 18-lap old mediums. That could be interesting on this final lap.
And you can see the tyre wear on his tyres. You can see how much they've grained. He's very close to it as well. I don't imagine Hypes is that fast to catch 15 seconds in 1 lap, but you never know what's going to happen on the final lap. But we'll run with the race leaders again. Spa-Holt on track has a 5-second gap over Ghost, but because of penalties, that just isn't enough at this point. Matty's close, but I think Matty's going to take the position off the spar hole unless there's a mistake for Matty. McCrew's caught these guys incredibly quickly. He's only 4 seconds off the back of them now, but McCrew's done all he needs to do to win the championship here in Abu Dhabi, so he's just 1 sector away from being the first champion of INL in Season 1 with a round to spare. So he's had a brilliant season so far, a number of brilliant races. He's had a couple of poor races towards the end of the season, but he's been able to hold on. And while others have fallen around him, he's kept going, and he's going to look like he's going to take the win of the championship. Sparholt then round the last corner. He crosses the line. He wins on the road. Let's see where Ghost comes into comparison to Sparholt. Ghost is going to cross the line, and he doesn't pass Sparholt on penalties. Matty passes the pair of them, so Matty wins the race then. And McCrew ends up passing. He ends up passing his championship rival in the end as McCrew by 1 second. So McCrew is your first INL season champion. He takes third on the road, and he beats his only championship rival in Ghosts. So McCrew is the champion, and that also means Red Bull are the manufacturers champion for the first season of INL. Daniel comes home in P5 ahead of Patrick in P6. J Luke's going to cross the line in 7th. He's so far off with penalties as well. Super Gamer crosses the line. He won't be able to pass J Luke on penalties. Janetzi across the line. He doesn't get a puncture in the end. He crosses the line in 9th. Hype's caught 6 seconds on Janetsky in the last lap. He's absolutely flying in comparison, but he's going to come home in P10 in the end. Kieran's going to cross the line. We know Kieran isn't prone to getting penalties. Oh, he has a massive slide at the last corner, but he isn't going to be able to pass Hypes on penalties. ST5 will be the last person to finish. And there you go, that's the end of the Abu Dhabi race.
It's a Red Bull double.
It's a Red Bull double, yeah. So Red Bull take the manufacturers, and the Red Bull driver of McCrew takes the Drivers' Championship. So congratulations to those guys for the first season champions of INL. Brilliant stuff to see from them. McCrew drove a perfect race, really. He wasn't the fastest on the field, and I think he figured that pretty early on that he wasn't going to be able to beat the guys in front. So he just ran a clean race with with very few penalties. He ran a clean race on his own and did all he needed to do to win the championship. So congratulations to McCrew and Red Bull as well on their 2 championships. Brilliant.
This entire season, McCrew has just been... He's definitely been the most consistent driver of his competitors. He may not have always been the quickest, but he's definitely been the most consistent, and
definitely
sometimes consistency is key.
Definitely, I think McCrew's it's been a very Jensen Button kind of run to the championship for McCrew. He had an amazing start to the season, and then from then on, he built such a lead that he did all he needed to do to win the championship. So let's run you through the points finishes then. So it's Matty who ends up winning the race then, ahead of Sparholt in second. McCrew takes third and the championship. Ghost falls to P4 in the end, ahead of Daniel in 5th, Patrick in 6th, J Luke 7th, Super Gamer 8th, Janetsky in 9th despite spinning and nearly completely losing his front wing, and Hypes rounds out the top 10. Kieran and ST5 were the only other finishers in the end. Everyone else in the race retired, so it was a bit of a race of attrition today.
Yeah, turn 3 catching a lot of people out today, and it was a risk, and we brought it up very early that it was going to be a corner of key interest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we definitely noticed that was going to be the case. It was going to be a real struggle for people around that corner. But yeah, in the end then, so it's a double Red Bull championship, like you say. So brilliant stuff today. So any final thoughts from you, Ivor, before we close out?
Just a massive congratulations to McCrew on the Drivers' Championship and Red Bull on the Constructors. Also, congratulations to Matty for the win here today, and Sparhall definitely had the pace to win here today, just unfortunate with the track limits. But congrats on the podium to him as well, and commiserations to Ghost for just dropping outside the podium.
Yeah, shame for Ghost. He tried all he could for the championship in the end, but I think it's exciting for season 2. We know that McCrew had a brilliant start to the season, but he's got competition for next season, so I think it's going to be an even closer fight next year for both championships next year. So we'll have to see what happens there. But that's where we're going to end the stream today, guys. So today we end with 2 champions in the end. We've got 1 round to go next week at Russia. That's the rerun of round 16, and that will be the final round of the championship then for the first season of INL. Thank you very much for tuning in. I've been Aidan Carter, he's been Ivor Bryn Mike. Thank you for joining me, Ivor, for commentary, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.